Very. I want to welcome you to our 4th annual HICO meet and greet. Our high impact community outreach grant. Our high impact community outreach grant has been intended, and we think succeeding, in recognizing organizations in our community that is having a high impact, organizations that do as we think we do as a small congregation, punch above our weight, for whom a little bit of money will make a big deal. We are grateful to be able to partner with you all in the ways that we can. You're going to hear about each one of our grant recipients individually from our HICO team. Dave, oh my God, my brain is totally fried because in the moment, I just forgot your last name, David Holstein, Laura Tucker, and Celia Josephson. We hope that this is an opportunity for us, you, to spend some time with our grant recipients to learn about the work that they do. We're always excited about the possibility for synergy when we bring all of these powerful people and powerful organizations into the same room together. And more than learn and hear, we hope that you will find opportunities for partnership and to really be involved in the work that these teams are doing. I am going to turn this over to David, to Laura, to get us started.
Good afternoon. It's so nice to be in the meeting house. Hold on a second. I got to do a happy dance. Okay. I'm Laura Tucker. I'm a part of not only the congregation here, but the PAC group, and I'm not going to try to do an acronym. And I want to welcome everyone. It's exciting. I'm not going to read. I'm going to let the person who needs to be here speak. And Pam, just because I just learned your surname correctly, I feel like a twelderly. You know, it's like Pamela Reiki. No, we're gonna practice that, you know. But she's with the Hope and Resilience Long Island, and I'm gonna let her explain her wonderful new organization. So please, I have to say, give her some love. All right, give her some.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. And thank you to the HICO committee for choosing Hope and Resilience as one of your recipients. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about our agency. First, I worked at the Retreat for 10 years, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Retreat. It's a domestic violence agency on the East End with a shelter and so forth. And I worked there for 10 years. And then I thought it was time for a little change because that is very, it's difficult work, just to put it briefly. It's difficult work, and I had an opportunity to go open a health food store as a manager. But then after a little bit of time, I was really missing the work that I did. And even while I was there managing the health food store, people, including even a board member from the Retreat, would send people to me to talk, to help them with paperwork or kind of explain what the legal process was that they might need to follow. And because I was the director of legal advocacy at the Retreat, working with clients in court. So I decided, it's a much more circuitous story, but let's just say I decided at that point to start my own agency. And I did that a year and a half ago. The agency really came out to the public just over a year ago, last August. And in that time, we've had 72 individual people call our agency for help. And Some of them are cases that are going on for months and months. Others are cases where someone just needed some information, they needed some guidance, and they needed some referrals to appropriate services. About 40 of those callers are Latina men and women. So that is it's a little bit more than 50% of the services that we provide. And because not all immigrant people are documented, that means that they are less apt to get help from government agencies. They're not able to, for the most part, apply for public assistance. Only if they have children who are documented, they can then get services for those documented children. And there's a lot of other, I know it's got to keep it brief, so I could go into a lot of other facts about working with Latina and Latino immigrants, but I will talk about what we do. So as I said, I was a director of legal advocacy, so that is the primary focus right now, because it's a small agency, is providing legal advocacy, working with clients in family court and criminal court, helping them to seek orders of protection, going to the police department with them, because very often that is a traumatizing and scary step to take. On average, someone has experienced about 35 incidents of abuse before they will reach out to the police. And then not knowing what's going to happen once they do go to the police, it's helpful to have somebody there with them. We were granted money from HICO to help with housing insecurity. And that is a huge issue among victims of domestic violence. And that is one of the main reasons why people will choose not to leave an abusive situation. Anyone who lives here on the East End of Long Island knows how very, very not difficult, but impossible it is to find affordable housing. And when you are leaving a two-person household to then try to make it on your own with one income, usually with several children, it's impossible. And so the HICO grant has enabled us to help in small ways. We've been able to help 3 people so far. We still have a little bit of money left. And I will tell you that about I identified about 16 of our callers who are really in need of housing help, but the help that they need is so great that if I were to give them a small amount of funds from this grant, it would just be really a Band-Aid. I had one client who had her husband left because of an order of protection, and then she found out that he hadn't paid the rent in a year, and the house they were being evicted. She was able to get services from from Nassau Suffolk Law Services to help renegotiate with the landlord rather, to be able to stay in the house for another year. But then when the husband wasn't paying child support, he's now in arrears to the tune of almost $20,000. You can't pay rent and babysitter and buy groceries, even as a working mom. So this has been we were able to give her some help to get over one hurdle, but then with that non-payment of child support, there's more hurdles to jump. I had one young woman who was seeking shelter, and I was trying to help her get into a real emergency situation, trying to help her get into the retreat shelter. That didn't work out for a variety of reasons, but I was able to get her with these funds to cover a night in a hotel in Riverhead, and until she was able to then the next day move on to another agency in another county to get the full help that she needed. And then there was another woman who left the home that she was in after her nose and her finger were broken. And she needed money just to be able to rent a room somewhere. And so, let's see. I think I covered a lot of it. There's information here, and I would love to, there's so much more to cover. I could be up here for an hour speaking, but I don't have that. So one thing I did want to say is, because it's October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so it's fitting that we're here today to talk about this. I would love to speak with anyone individually more about our agency and the work that we do and the services that we provide. Thank you. One thing, sorry, I forgot. One of the most important things is that Reverend Kimberly is on our board. It's a very important thing. So it's wonderful to have the support of someone as amazing as Reverend Kimberly helping guide this agency.
Thank you, Pam. So each year, the PAC, which is the Proposal Assessment Committee, if you look, we try to have a focus. So to narrow down the tremendous amount of need out there to a certain number of applications that we can really handle. And this year, we were kind of prescient that we really focused on necessities. So food, housing, as Pam mentioned, as well as like daycare support. And we had 4 different food pantries that actually applied for grants, showing the kind of the size of the demand out there. Plus we run our own here, our little pantry. But one of the grantees was Heart of the Hamptons. And we are going to be double teamed today, excuse me, by twins, Maribel and Marissa Ramos. So please, it's all yours.
Hi, my name is Maribel Ramos, my twin sister,
I'm Mari Paz. I am the coordinator of Heart of the Hamptons.
and I'm the food pantry manager there. I started working in Heart of the Hamptons. Well, let me talk a little bit about the story. We coming from the Canary Island 25 years ago. I met an American man in Canary Island, and he brought me to the United States. My mother used to do this. My mom in our island, in the Canary Island, used to help people, what we're doing right now. We did everything. We went to college in Spain, but coming to a different country, college is not, you have to do again the college. So we started doing everything, working in a restaurant, cleaning houses. We opened ourselves a restaurant. I did teacher aide in Bridgehampton. And when my children started growing up, was allowed for me to go to school with my kids doing sports. And I met a friend in the supermarket and said, Heart of the Hamptons need a bilingual. And you should be good there. So I said, are you kidding me? I never worked in an organization like that. So I went to talk to the previous director, and he hired me right away. And a year after, my sister enjoyed it because we're always together. Always together.
This is the reason that I'm here in this country.
Yeah, because
Because I got very sick
Yeah.
in my country
yeah.
because I separated from her and we are identical.
Yeah.
So the doctor said, if you want to be with your sister, you have to go to New York or your sister has
Yeah,
to
it was
come to
horrible.
Spain.
Horrible.
So my sister got married, so I came here to this country because
Okay.
of her. Yeah,
So listen,
we're always together.
we are very happy, we are helping. When I started working there, there were like 50, 60 families, around that time. And now, like you can read, we have 6,000 people, clients for,
Register.
registered coming 800 families a month. Like every month is increasing. We have more immigrants coming to us. They feel comfortable because we come from, with Spanish speaking. So every time they come there, they always ask for her or me. We just went to holiday vacation, and Molly, the director, was, what are you going to do with the two of you? I said, but we need to be together, vacation.
At least a week together in holidays. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and we provide 300,000
Meals, yeah,
meals
this year.
this year. So
Yeah.
that's a lot. Even this week, every week, we have always new people.
Yeah, the increasing every day.
It's a lot of people crossing the border. And
Which is difficult. They think they're going to have an easier life coming to this country, but
That's true.
sometimes I tell them it's harder because look at the rents. I tell them the grant, the money we get, we spend it to pay bills for them, the electric bills,
medical.
medical bills. We trying to find housing, which is very hard because just one room, they charging they come to us and said, we can afford it to pay $1,800 a month. So that's what I said. They think it's easier, but it's very, very difficult. But we try to help them the best we can, They're very she was saying about domestic violence,
Yeah.
most of them, they've been raped, they separate from their own family. And they're working just to send money, so they bring their own family to this country. And we try to help them the most we can. Now we are excited to move to
To the new place.
the new building,
Yeah, to the new building.
I mean, we have it.
So we can do our things.
Yeah, we, the priest, we are right now using his space at the church. He doesn't
Doesn't wanna see
communicate to
people
us,
around. He doesn't want to see a lot of people,
immigrants.
around.
So by January,
So we're going to.
we're gonna move to the new building, and I know we're gonna be doing better
Yeah,
what we're doing right now.
and the building is looking beautiful,
Yeah,
Maribel.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is it, right? El town of Southampton, yeah,
Meeting House Lane. You
by
know
the
Meeting House
old,
Lane?
where the old ambulance was,
Right there,
is beautiful.
behind the church,
Presbyterian Church.
Presbyterian Church, yeah, behind that.
So, okay? Thank you, thank you.
Hi, I'm Celia Josephson. I'm a member of the HICO PAC, and I'm very glad to introduce Dan O'Shea from Maureen's Haven. It's a real center for helping the homeless in this area. Dan?
Thank you for having me. I joined Maureen's Haven in 2018, and it has been by far the most amazing, demanding, challenging, rewarding position of my career, of my life. It changed me as a person, it changed me as a professional, and it changed my outlook on the world. I could say right off the bat, I can automatically echo the sentiments that you've already heard, and you're going to hear more of. Housing, increased demand in services, the overall need for supports. And I can tell you that my experience is, one, it's been amazing to be able to help a lot of people. And for us, the demand has gone through the roof. Two, it's an amazing experience to be around people like yourself. And why is that important? Because we can't do our job effectively without the compassion and giving of other people like yourselves. And that in and of itself is just incredible to watch. We have volunteers and congregations and supporters throughout the entire East End. And you'll see it time and time again, entire communities coming together to support us. And that's a wonderful thing. But what also amazes me is how much the system is failing so many people. You hear domestic violence, immigration, housing. Maureen's Haven deals with all of that. I see domestic violence every day, every day. I see chronic substance abuse and alcoholism every day, prevalent mental illness, just ongoing poverty. And it's challenging. Just to give you a little bit of an idea, just a little bit better of what Maureen's Haven does. So many people here on the East End are so familiar with our emergency overnight winter shelter program. And that's a church program. Everybody knows that. And that's an amazing program. And that was a gift. When I joined in 2018, that was handed to me. So Dan, here is a gift. Here's 25 host sites, probably 50 congregations, probably another 100 organizations and volunteers, all coming to support you. And the pandemic hit, and that all went away. But let me rephrase that. That didn't go away. We had to adapt and realign our services. So now we've been able to, for this going into our 22nd year, to provide emergency overnight winter shelter program. And we do that every night for 6 months throughout the cold winter months. And everything originates out of Riverhead, and we go to the different churches on a different assigned night. And it's a wonderful life-saving program. There's fellowship, there's supporters. But what I think is really important is the day-to-day stuff that people don't see. It's the case management. It's the getting the support services that they need. It's taking people to a substance abuse program, or going to get their prescriptions, or helping them to get a cell phone, or going to a doctor. You know, for what we do, we're a privately funded agency, and why that's important is we're not restricted what insurance can and cannot cover. We're not restricted what, you know, a HUD grant will say. If I want to put somebody up in a hotel room for a night, I will. If I want to drive somebody to go see a family member in Queens, we will. And we do all those things. And I will say this, that for a small grassroots agency, we pack a big punch. When I started in 2018, we roughly were projecting 225, 250 individuals will help throughout the course of a year. Barely 6 years later, that number's almost double. We're going to far exceed 400 this year. We're probably going to far exceed 450, maybe even more next year. And it's important to understand that the support that we get from individuals like you and the funding that we get and the volunteers that we get, it does make a big difference. It's getting somebody a prescription, maybe getting somebody a cell phone, but more importantly, getting somebody back on the path that they can go back to living a life that they feel like they are treated with dignity and treated with honor and treated with respect. And that's why I'm here, and that's why so many of you are here. So for me, and I know all my staff and my guests, it really makes a big difference, and we are truly appreciative of all the support and generosity you guys have seen us throughout the year. So thank you very much.
Hi there. Our next recipient is Ola, and I'll introduce Minerva Perez, who's the director. Minerva.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, actually. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to be among these folks here and these organizations. I'm excited and proud to say that I get to work with most everyone, and those who we haven't been able to work with. I'm excited to work with you whenever that time comes, hopefully soon. So OLA was founded in 2002, so we're going into our, almost our 21st year here. And I won't go into all the rest of it. I'll kind of zero into the kind of area that the HICO grant, and thank you so much to this committee and to this congregation for the support, and everyone and anyone that is interested and has been supporting the work of OLA. Please do go to the website. It will give you a much better idea. It's a new website, so it's actually really good. So we, all the areas that you're hearing about and all the crisis needs, we continue to address. So we do have a crisis team, and that is addressing a multitude of concerns. Right now, there's a very high level of illegal lockouts going on, where there are people paying their rent and being illegally locked out of their homes. But where OLA kind of goes into the deeper fabric of our East End region, with our very siloed systems, such as 10 police departments, 10 court systems, 24 school districts. What we do is we go down into the fabric. So we're not just looking to put out a fire. We're certainly looking to address a crisis, but then we're looking to address the origin of that crisis. And if we are having higher levels of illegal lockouts, we want to understand why those are not being enforced. The enforcement of law enforcement going in and doing what they need to do to make sure that that landlord understands that that is, since 2019, a Class A misdemeanor. That's very important, because if the systems that we do have are going to continue to have these holes, the people that are the most vulnerable in our community are going to continue to fall through those holes. And it is a terrible detriment to our full community. No matter who you are and how much money you have or don't have, we all experience that feeling together when these systems are not working, as Dan had mentioned, and I love working with Dan. We are doing a lot of work with mental health and adolescents. That's a new program that we started, an initiative called Youth Connect, that is going into the 24 school districts. Right now, we're solidly in about 7 of them. We do presentations, and we also run a helpline from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week in Spanish and English. We are taking calls, mainly texts from adolescents in middle school and high school about a range of issues. None of them are small. None of them are small. They're not all absolute life and death, but none of them are small. And the fact that we're there to kind of walk through and just sort of kind of go hand in hand with a person on text, or in the middle of a lunch break at school, it is everything in the world. And the text that we receive and the gratitude even is just tremendous and keeps us going. So that's a team. We have a team dedicated just to Youth Connect. And we also have a Healthy East End initiative, which is all focused on health inequities. We have a grant from Hispanic Federation, a grant from CDC Foundation. Our grants are now kind of branching out a bit. We are being really seen across across the state and even beyond in some federal circles, federal funding circles, as an organization that is able to understand and meet some of these needs, and not to do it alone, but to do it in partnership and collaboration with the amazing organizations and humans we have out here. The newest program that we've started is something that's our immigration legal services. So throughout, the years, noting how oftentimes our community members that have no money will scrounge together whatever they have and their family members have to go up the island, and oftentimes to meet with and be exploited by just an unscrupulous law firm that will sell them the moon and the stars, and then very quickly they find out that none of these things are truly available, and they're probably being put in, or oftentimes put in more danger by quick fixes that seem like fixes that actually put people into deportation proceedings, and put the family at great risk. So we, for a while, have been reaching out to New York State Office of New Americans to have them establish another immigration legal services provider. They have one up the island, I think in the Hempstead area. We wanted to have them have one in our office, at least on the east end of Long Island. And that's been a couple of years. That wasn't working, looking at different grants, different ways. And finally, a board member of ours, Sarah Burr, who's a tremendous human, she's a retired immigration judge. She stuck with me, and we just kept looking and looking. And finally, we received a grant from Further Justice, which are two women run this organization. They're both lawyers. And we finally have started essentially a law firm. So within OLA, we now have a pro bono immigration lawyer who's absolutely tremendous. Her name is Lucia Demoral. She's originally from Guatemala. She and her twin sister, actually, when they immigrated, was such a powerful experience for them. They both became immigration lawyers. So she works in nonprofit, and her sister works in the corporate world, in immigration as well. So she's been with us now for less than a year. And in that period of time, we have about 13 closed cases. And we've got about 25 closed cases, and right now 13 open cases. And those cases range from different types of work that we're doing, because we want to make sure that we're sometimes taking on a full a case that's going to go from the beginning all the way to the end. And these cases take years. So even something that sounds simple, if you've heard of U visas or whatnot, these can take 10, 15 years. Nothing is a short period of time, and nothing is a guarantee. So when we're signing on to that, we're signing on for life, essentially. So whatever happens with Lucia Demoral, if she's an amazing woman, maybe she'll be with us forever. OLA is committed to this. You don't take an immigration, you don't create that office and then step away from it. You don't say, oh, well, we don't really have enough funding for that. We're going to have to step away from the families that we have committed ourselves to. You stick with it no matter what it takes. So knowing that we have your hearts kind of with us is extremely important to us, and specifically helping with some of the offset of those costs that have to do with the legal fees, that also have to do with getting to do the public education. So we're being very kind of intentional in what this immigration lawyer is doing. We're not taking on 1 million cases. We're not going to be one of those organizations that takes off way more than it can chew, and then everything gets kind of sloppy and things can be kind of not good. So we're reserving enough space for this woman to take these cases, and then also public education. So it's offsetting those. Okay. And oh, good. 1 minute. I can do that. I can do it in 1 minute. Offsetting the public education that we're doing. We're getting ready to do a webinar and a live in-person series workshop on everything you need to know about asylum. And then in addition to that is institutional education. It's very important that our own municipalities that don't know a darn thing about the impact of some of even our town and our town codes. What is it? How does that impact someone who's not fully documented, even if they're in the pathway to get documented? And even our education systems, what it means for them to understand how to work with immigrant communities. So this immigration lawyer is also going to be helping to educate institutions out here in the East End. So I want to thank you for your support. Thank everyone for your support and your attention. And please go to the website and check things out. Good to see you. All right.
The Riverhead Shelter Volunteer Program and Lillian Lennon, I have to share something with you. I'm 63 years old and I'm a first-time dog owner. And his name is Mickey, and now I know why everyone falls apart and loves their dog and will give them half the bed and and he already has me well trained in this 14 days I've had him. And yesterday I had the big family reunion for my mother, and I found out the dog has more chutzpah, more spunk, and everyone, and I mean, it was just amazing. It was just wonderful. So I'm going to say that animals, pets, whether it be a turtle or a dog who has a personality, when you have another sentient being in your life, it's fantastic. And I'm so glad that we are giving some money to an organization that helps animals, because animals help us humans very well. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. It's a hard act to follow, listening to these amazing organizations. I'm just humbled by it. We come from a different lens here at RSVP Inc. We've been around since 1996. It was started by 4 women that were trying to help the Riverhead Animal Shelter at the time, because many of the residents, the animal residents, were being euthanized at alarming rates back then. But then they started to realize that there was more to that problem, and they were just putting Band-Aids on the problem. So they went out into the communities and started to see if they can prevent the dogs at this time to go to the shelter in the first place. And so they started looking in the neighborhoods and trying to help people. The animal human connection is just amazing. They start to knock on doors and say, hi, we're from RSVP Inc. We're a local nonprofit. Is there anything we can do to help you? Can we help you with your dog or cats, medical care? Can we help you with food? Can we help you with shelters? What can we do to make it easier for you so you don't have this need to give up your best friend? And that's how it kind of originated. So what the HICO grant came about through a lovely lady here, Eva, who who met with our what we call our dog lady here, Outreach, Kelly, and she had a cat. Am I correct? And Kelly helped her with that situation. And then Eva was nice enough to recommend us, and we were just so grateful to have the opportunity to apply for the grant, because we call ourselves the little engine that could. We're a small group, but we're a pretty powerful group. We've done a lot of amazing things here out on the East End, especially in the area of spay-neuter, so that we don't have an abundance of puppies and kittens born that are unwanted, and then they grow up to be put into the shelters or don't make it for some reason. So back there we put a couple of I got a little carried away when David said bring some stuff. I'm a retired teacher, so I kind of overplanned. Okay, but feel free to look back there. There's brochures to take, and our recent newsletter, and some little notepads. Help yourself. Anyway, the animal human connection is just amazing, and we're currently working on the Shinnecock Animal Shelter, which we have done in the past, but we revisited that. I'm going to let Kelly explain that, and how we use the HICO grant to help us help the people on the Shinnecock Animal Reservation be able to help their pets and give them the care that they need. So I'm going to send this over to Kelly now, and she'll give you a little bit more of insight as to what was done. And before I get off, I just want to say we are just overwhelmingly thankful for being approved for this grant. It's really helped us a lot. And if you look at some of the pictures, specifically not on the black ones, but on the black trifles, but the more recent one, that's all the food that was delivered and the shelters that were put up, all because of this HICO grant. That's what it did for our group. So thank you very much. And Kelly, you can continue from there.
Okay, so I'm like one of this, a nervous wreck right now, so I'm gonna read a little bit because I gotta, I know everybody speaks, so. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna start by saying good morning, and my name is Kelly. I am the RSVP Community Outreach Coordinator. Oh. Okay, a little more nervous. Okay. I can let you know I talk a lot if I'm not up here. Okay. Good morning. My name is Kelly. I am the RSVP Community Outreach Coordinator. First of all, I'd like to thank the people who made it possible for us to receive this grant to be able to help the people that we service in the RSVP Community Outreach Program, especially Ava, who remembered to pay it forward back and remembered us when this came about, and the people, obviously, who run this program. We really appreciate it. I'm just going to go off of this for a second to say I think it's absolutely wonderful what I'm hearing of everybody doing for all the people. But, and I think it's an amazing thing. But I have someone in my family, believe it or not, who doesn't like dogs. And on my husband's side, not mine. And she comes over, and every weekend I go out, I mean, without fail. What's the weather? What's going on? It's for these animals, which I'll explain in a minute. But she says, I don't understand why you gotta go out for dogs, we got family, you can't come, And I say to her, because there are these wonderful people in the world who help people. And I not that I wouldn't help the people, although my sister used to say I would jump over a burning baby to save a dog. But that's not true. I would help a dog. I would help. But I say to her, there are organizations and there are people like these incredible people and people who support them to help people. But I'm here, and I believe God put me on earth for this, to help dogs. I was a foster child and went through the system, and I know what it's like to be in care of somebody else or somebody who isn't caring for you. So that's why I believe I am where I am. So every week, myself and a volunteer from the RSVP Community Outreach goes into the areas of need, including the Southampton Reservation. The Southampton Reservation, which has been our main focus at this time to help educate and assist the people in the reservation to take proper care of their dogs and receive the help they need. I just want to add that we were part of going to court with the different towns and to change the laws in Suffolk County that the dogs can't be tethered or left out in the cold under a certain, but unfortunately, in certain areas, including the reservation, the laws don't apply. They have their own laws. So we try in the Southampton Reservation, which has been our main focus at this time, to help educate and assist the people in the reservation to take proper care of their dogs and receive the help they need. We have brought out over 30 pens and dog houses to the reservation to get dogs off chains and into sufficient housing that is sustainable to the life they live, and most of them outside full time. We offer education to the people who are interested to learn the proper care of their dogs and hopefully bringing them into their homes. Although I would say 97% of the dogs live outside full time. And most of them, the people feel, a lot of people feel it's cultural, and everybody has their own culture and you have to be respectful of it. But there's things that you learn and you could change in culture for animals. And that's what we try and tell them. We bring out pallets of food we buy. And that's why grants like that we got are so helpful to the community center and distribute it amongst the people and deliver to the elders who cannot come to get them food themselves and need food for their pets. We bring out straw to keep the animals warm, fly bags because the dogs have flies all over them sometimes, and flea meds, which we raise funds for flea meds because these dogs haven't had them for years, and some of them are missing parts of their body from fleas and ticks and, ears, parts of their eyes. So now we're there, and the whole season we raise money to give flea meds, and sometimes we bring a veterinarian that donates their time out to the reservation to offer vaccines and basic care. We have assisted some of the families in bringing their animals to the veterinarian for services they cannot afford. We also make ourselves available to try and help owners who cannot care for their dogs any longer to rehome them into safe environments. I try and build trust with the people in the reservation so they feel comfortable to come to me and help. And with this grant that we received from you, it has made our program so much more sustainable to continue, since we constantly need to raise funds for dog houses and pens and need supplies to provide the care needed. Again, One of our main goals of our community outreach program is to give the dogs the best situation we can and to educate the people who own the dogs and to build trust and friendship in the community between the reservation and the RSVP Community Outreach Program. Thank you again for your time and for this grant that is helping to make such a difference for the dogs and the people of the reservation. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo.
Hi, I'd like to introduce Susan Hovdisven from the Southampton Daycare Center.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for considering us for this grant. I'm the board president of the Southampton Daycare Center. That may sound like a fancy title, but it's not. And I'm so honored to be with all of you because I know the amount of passion you have to have in doing what you're doing. The Southampton Daycare Center is a not-for-profit daycare center. We're open 5 days a week, all year long, from 7 in the morning till 6 at night. We are supporting families all over the East End, doesn't matter where you're from. And our families, our working parents are from extremely low to low income. And if you think about childcare, you have to think about it as, where do working parents bring their children so that they can go to work and feel that their children are not only safe and being nurtured, but they're also learning. So we are an early childhood education center. Without us, parents can't provide not only for the child at the daycare at the center, but also for their siblings. Businesses, which are throughout the East End, can't operate without their employees or these working parents having a safe and reliable place for their employees to bring their children. The daycare was founded in 1985. It actually began in the basement of a church, and a community effort was able to establish a building in Southampton Village where the daycare resides today. We also have a website, but I think one of the greatest places to go if anybody is on Instagram is to be able to see the children live every day. They are just little miracles, and we do everything we can to teach them as much as they can so that when they go off to kindergarten, they're really starting ahead of the pack. Many come and they don't speak English. They learn English at the center, and then they bring that back home to their families. Our greatest challenge is, of course, funding, and without grants, we will not survive. Our rates to our parents are 17% below the Suffolk County average, and we are, of course, in an environment where we need to pay our teachers the most we can possibly pay them because they are truly the heroes of the organization, as well as our director. So our payroll does not cover the fees. So we have to have grants like this to keep the rates low. We haven't raised our rates in years, and we don't intend to do that. That's the last thing that we want to do. But we have a lot of supplies, food, just so much that you can imagine to keep a daycare operating. We are overseen by the Office of Child and Family Services. That's a government agency. So when you bring your child to the daycare, you know that there's an organization overseeing us. They do on-site visits that are surprises. That really just gives you rules and regulations to live by and to work by. And their mission is to just make sure that everything we're doing is for the safety of the children. But I encourage anyone, especially from the team, if you the panel here, or the group, if you ever wanted to come to the daycare, we would welcome you with open arms. Thank you.
Thank you again. We have the Springs Food Pantry, and we have two representatives here today, Carol Disler and Ann McCann, and welcome.
Hi, we're from the Springs Food Pantry, and our mission is to alleviate hunger in the Springs community. That is the Springs School District. But also, in addition to that, we like to raise awareness in the community because so many people, you hear it all the time, oh, it's the Hamptons, everybody's rich, everybody has money, there are no problems. And everybody in this room knows that that's far from the truth. We're an all-volunteer organization. It takes about 50 volunteers every week to do our distribution, which is on Wednesdays. Our mission is to give three days of food every week. So it incorporates meat, fruits, vegetables, rice, pasta, anything that we give them. We always get feedback from the recipients of what they like, what they don't like. We try to fine tune it. I would also like to mention, we actually are having a fundraiser next Saturday, the Chowder Chow Down, which a lot of local restaurants are contributing to. So if you want to come down, it's in Springs. We were established in 1992 by members of the Springs Presbyterian Church. And originally the mission was to feed farming and fishing families that had a very hard time in the winter making ends meet. But of course, now and especially with the pandemic, our numbers have skyrocketed. In the beginning, we used to serve about 55 families a week. Now we serve 300 families a week, and 1,000 to 1,100 people. And really every week we just keep thinking, okay, now we've hit the limit, and it just keeps going up. Part of it is, as other people have talked about, the incredible cost of housing here. People need cars here if they're going to work. That's an expense, gas, heating oil. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's food that is the thing that they can scrimp on. So we really do our best to make sure that people have nutritious food in their stomach. And one thing that we were both just talking as we were coming here that's really great about it really is such a community effort. We have a lot of people who give money to us at our fundraisers or even just through PayPal. We have monthly donations. We're very lucky that many of the farms in our community, Balsam Farms, Amber Waves, Share the Harvest, through the summer, they keep us in lettuce, peppers, potatoes. And then even in the off season, we have the East Hampton High School will do a food drive for us, and some local businesses will also do a food drive with us. So it really is just a community effort of everybody just trying to make sure that their neighbors have enough to eat. And one thing that I didn't know until I came to the food pantry was I find it amazing that the Springs School does not have a lunch program. So the children who come to school, I mean, whatever they have from home is what they get. So again, and one of the things we do is when we give out fruit, we give out 3 pieces of fruit per person in the family. So, and we give a lot of like bananas, apples, oranges, so at least the children can bring that to school and have something with them. Our total breakdown, our funding is 80% donations and 20% grants. So again, we would just really like to thank you for the grant, because what we did with that grant was during the summer, we gave an extra day of food to the families, and it really was appreciated. We gave extra fruit, we gave extra vegetables, and then an extra staple like rice or pasta. Yeah, we just want to say that, so many of the people who come to our food pantry, it can be senior citizens, people who are seasonal workers, especially in the winter. They work so hard all through the year, and then in the winter, their jobs really fall off. It's just a great effort to keep them fed and to keep them knowing that, they're a part of the community, and everybody needs a helping hand from time to time. And we're just really happy that we can be there for them. And for Anne, just to talk about that.
I think Carol covered most of what we do, but I just kind of want to emphasize, we serve the working poor. That there's just not enough. They just don't make enough money. And as has been mentioned, and I'm overwhelmed by all that's given here. The rents are unbelievable. We have families that live, 4 people live in one room in a house with a shared kitchen and a shared bathroom. They don't even know each other, and they're paying over $2,500 a month. I mean, I can't live with my own family at the thought of being confined to one room. It's just, it is truly overwhelming. But the thing that I really want to stand up here and say is what we're most proud of, I think, at the Springs Food Pantry is we've been working since 1992 and have never, ever missed a week. And the numbers just keep growing. And, we started with 17 farmers and fishermen, and now we're up to 300 families a week. And 2 weeks ago, we had 13 new families register. So it's frightening because, as other people have mentioned, the immigrants just keep coming in because of the New York City situation, because of family situations in other countries. It's just, and their generosity to each other is overwhelming. But we're most proud of so much, but we really concentrate on giving nutritional food, which the farms have been unbelievably generous with. We utilize Long Island Cares and Island Harvest, which deliver pallets upon pallets of food to us each month, every 2 weeks, actually. And the other thing that I just have to give a big shout out to is our volunteers. I have a list of over 100 volunteers, all of whom want to be there more and more and more. I'm the volunteer coordinator, so I utilize at least 50 people a week to get our Wednesday distribution in order. On Monday, we bring the product out from our pantries. On Tuesday, we pack grocery bags. On Wednesdays, we pack the produce bags from the farms that deliver in the morning. And it's just, it's a big, big job. And then on Wednesday afternoons, when the distribution occurs, the lines are up Old Stone Highway, the cars, and the families are willing to wait for over an hour so that they can pick up just supplementary food for the week. So I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank all of you people enough for the work that we do, and we're not even making a dent. That's the sad piece. Thanks.
I am proud to introduce, not only as our last presenter. Yeah, Bonnie. Not only it's the last presentation, but I grew up watching the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreation Center grow to such a magnificent institution. And I was one of those, the Black kids that would come from the traditionally Black area in Sag Harbor. I would come and I grew up and saw people that wanted to be a part of the community, although they were cityites. And you know what a cityite is, right? Someone that comes from the city out to the Hamptons and just plays their legs up. Not a lot of the people that I knew who worked at the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreation Center. And when I came back out here and heard about Bonnie, I was like, oh, great, But when I saw what she was doing, I just have to say, for my personally, and I get very emotional, and you kind of know why, you've been amazing. And when I grow up, I'm going to be just like you. And it's true. You go out here, you have to understand that, and all of you have done incredible things. For someone like me, who has put my life in the same way, to know that there are other people who are the same, of like minds and heart, it's what keeps me going. It really does. And I thank the church for not only embracing me, but embracing my big mouth and saying, hey, we need to be a part of the community, just like the community is a part of us. And that's what I see when you sit here. And don't worry, I'm a good volunteer. I volunteer to the point of burnout. So, and it's okay, because you know what? This is no dress rehearsal. This is no dress rehearsal. And that's what I see with Bonnie's thing. It's like when my mother passes on and when I pass on, I know it's gonna go on. And that means so much to me. Bonnie, I'm sorry. But I love you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that don't know, that I am Bonnie Cannon. I'm from the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreational Center. And let me just get my notes here. Okay. And for those of you that don't know, our mission of this center is that we are a historically Black, community-based institution who serve all East End marginalized children and families. And we've been doing that for the past 70+ years. We were incorporated back in 1954, and we pretty much came out of tragedy where the community came together, donated our 6 acres of land there for a safe place for the migrant children and families. And I'm just blessed to be a part of the center and to be there. And I've been there now for about 17 years, going on 17 years now. Yeah, it went fast, I'll tell you. I can't believe it's been 17 years. Overall, the center actually, some of our programs that we have is that we do have an after-school program there that is licensed. It's called a school-age child care program licensed by the Office of Children and Family Services. We do all types of things. We are not just a child care center. We are a full-service community center, and that's what we do. We have a program for a college prep. We have something called Teach Me How to Fish, which deals with workforce development for those 18 to 45. All of our constituents are anywhere from your infants to your seniors. We have emergency assistance program. We have food insecurity. We have a food pantry. We have cultural arts programs. We have nutrition programs. We have a garden, which we call a soul garden. We have a summer program. We have a program that we named called Viva, which pretty much basically focuses in on our Latino community, and Maria Lavezzo has taken on that as our director there. And so that is overall what we do. But when we go to HICO in this particular grant that you have given us, that basically was for our Thinking Forward lecture series. And that's another program that we have there. So I want to say thank you for that. Thank you so much. Our Thinking Forward lecture series program deals in 4 areas. We have something called Straight Talk Real People. We have the politics of it all. We have well, and equality in the Hamptons. When you think about Thinking Forward lecture series, those are the 4 parts of our Thinking Forward lecture series. For our Straight Talk Real People, basically, we want people that look like the folks that are there. Many of our constituents are Black and brown individuals. And what we have is we have individuals just like Misty Copeland. We had Misty Copeland to come out and speak at one point in time. We have Dennis to come out and speak. We've had Ambassador Susan Johnson Cook to come out and speak. We've had all different types of individuals because we want folks to be exposed. So that's part of our Straight Talk Real People series that we have. We have the politics of it all, where we have our individual local legislators, Fred Thiel, Bridget Fleming, Jay Snyderman, individuals to come in and just to talk in a very intimate setting about issues and areas that are important to the marginalized and underserved communities. That's what we do there. We have a partnership with Suffolk County, with the governor, with some of the legislatures there that have come out, and they're interested in what's happening, not only at the center, but what's happening on the East End. So we open up that dialogue by having that relationship with our legislature and our government officials. We have the Well series that deals with anything dealing with your health, your nutrition, things of that sort. When we talk about our nutrition program, we partner with Cornell Cooperative that comes out and they teach our kids and our families about healthy nutrition. We partner with our farms that have been a blessing to us, from Quail Hen Farms to Amber Farms, where they bring produce, and we deal with Island Harvest, and they bring food, all of that, and then we distribute it. But then we not only distribute it, but we try to educate our community on how to utilize it, because for many years, we, we don't know some of the, like I just learned about garlic scapes, and how you can utilize garlic scapes and things of that sort. But we make sure that individuals get nutrition. We try to show how to use it, to cook, and that sort of thing. So we have the Well initiative, and we have our own garden there, and we have Ella Ingalls Snow that oversees our garden there and teaches the kids about nutrition and some of the things. I said, Ella is the best thing that happened to us, because now certain things that I didn't even eat, I mean, she's bringing in as snacks, and I'm like, what is this, Ella? And it's a string bean. And I said, it's raw. She said, no, you can eat it like that, and I eat it, and I'm like, this is really good. I never knew that. So I'm even learning things as well there. She brought in this edible flour or something. It was edible, and it had like a spice on it. It was like a kind of like a jalapeno spice or something. I said, what is this? And it had a spice. She said, it's edible. You can eat it. I said, I never knew that. So the kids are learning about nutrition. We had our young kids that said to her that this is better than ice cream. And so, when you can hear those types of things that are being said, then you know that you really, you're doing a great job there. So that's part of our well. For those of you that don't know, we deal with issues that are focusing in on our marginalized community, our Black and Brown community, such as breast cancer and cancer in general. We're having a breast cancer expo that is happening this Saturday, where we partnered with Ellen Hermanson. It's going to be a full day in both of our buildings of different topics dealing with breast cancer. And it's free to the public to come through, to just make aware and to talk about, have you had your mammogram and things of that sort. So we have that happening. On November the 4th, we're having a breast cancer center witness walk, which deals with breast cancer, and we'll actually be walking from the center down to the fire department on Main Street and back. So making awareness. So we do these types of things with the cholesterol checking and diabetes checking. So we do all of that down at the center. And we deal with the homeless population. For those that you that don't know, we have just partnered up with Maureen's Haven, and we are going to be a part of, I'm so thrilled. Yes. So starting on November 8th, we will be doing a Sunday night and Wednesday night that Maureen's Haven will be bringing the folks down, and they'll have a place to stay for those nights. And we'll be looking for, volunteers to help with that. So I'm going to say that as well. So if you're interested in volunteering, please let us know regarding that. And then lastly, which I wanted to talk about, was the part of the Thinking Forward lecture series, is the equality in the Hamptons. And that's what pretty much your grant that you gave to us. And people ask, why do we do the equality in the Hamptons? My thing is that at the center, we want everything to be better. One of our statements that we say is that if you come to the center, things will be always better. So that's what we want. We want you to get better, not only just in the folks that are there, but the community in itself. So we need everybody to understand the relationship between the Black and the brown community and everyone. We want them to hear the issues. We want them, so if we all can get better through understanding the cultures of other ethnicities, the issues of other ethnicities, what's important, what are we talking about, then that makes a difference. Case in point, we have had Reverend Barber to come through with the poor people's, his program that he has there. We've had Khalil Gibran Muhammad to come through. We've had Sherilyn Ifield to come through. And these are really profound speakers. If you missed any of those talks, you've missed a wonderful thing. And then this past year, we had Nicole Hannah-Jones. And oh my God, and this is what you guys helped to support that particular talk, which you can still see it. If you want to, you can go on our website and to check it out on bhccrc.org. And you will be just amazed at what she talked about as far as the 1619 project. And I can tell you, when you say, okay, well, why do you do, and these programs right now are free. The only way that we're able to do it is through the private donations and grants that have done. And that's pretty much how we do everything at the center, is through, the majority comes through private grants and private donors that do that. But for this particular talk, and just to give you an example, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sit down. From that talk, we had one individual that was there, and it was a prominent individual. I'm not gonna even say who it was, but that individual was scheduled to have a meeting with the governor that next week. And they were planning on talking to the governor regarding some total other issue, another issue. But because they came to our talk, I was told that that person changed their agenda for that day when they were going to meet with the governor that next week, because one of the things that Nicole Hannah-Jones talked about and she really honed in on was reparations, and reparations for Black individuals, and the importance of reparations. And that individual from that talk changed his entire agenda and sat down with the governor and talked about how she should put forth the bill for reparations. And so that was just wonderful confirmation for me that when an individual says, well, why do we have this Thinking Forward lecture series? Why is it important to the community? This is why. And this is how we get better. So again, I'm going to have my seat. If you want to know more about what we do, you can come see me, but we're doing a wonderful work at the center for the future. We got the indoor gym and pool. We're looking at a full daycare, because daycare is very important. So we're looking at a full daycare for infants and on. We're looking at that model. We're doing the research of it, but what we're talking about is an extended care, because to go past the normal hours, because we're a hospitality community. You have the hotels here, you have the rehabilitation center here, we're tourism. You need, the workers need a place for their kids, and not only workers, just in general. And they need it past 5 and 6 o'clock. They need it past 3 and 4 o'clock. And so we're looking at that extended daycare. And we're also looking at a pre-K, and that may be coming sooner than the extended daycare, but we are pretty much close to a waiver for pre-K, to have a pre-K, our own pre-K. And then we have a building in Southampton where we're looking to make that our human services and career tech training center. So we're busy, but your grant made a difference. It made a big difference, bigger than you ever would know, because who knew that would lead to, what happened that next week. So I thank you, and I thank you all for this time, and I look forward to, working with just you all, I already work with several of the individuals here, and just to continuing the great work that we do. We're all better together, and we're all getting better together. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to make sure I said thank you to everybody that's come. I know it's your Sunday and you spent part of the time with us, and that's really quite amazing. And thank you very much for that. So another round of applause for all our participants and what they do. It is getting a little bit late, but I thought I'd just open it up for a couple of questions if somebody had something that was, they wanted to ask. Well, I'll take one prerogative of being here and thinking about it a little bit, but one thing that's come across in a lot of the conversations is growth. And I don't understand how, either on the food side or even on Maureen's Haven, how do you cope with this tremendous increase in demand? I mean, how do you do it on number one? And then even Minerva, on your side, how do you have the vision of what to grow? I mean, we've funded a couple of different of your programs, from the mental health for youth to now a lawyer. So how do you decide on what avenue of growth you're going to have? And I know that that's probably a very big question, so I don't want everybody for short answers. And Carl, do the microphones here work? Okay. So who'd like to tackle that first? Any takers? Any takers?
Yeah. All right, thank you. Great question and a big one, but I'll keep it brief. I mean, as the community shares these needs with us and the crisis needs that come our way, we're looking at where we see a way to have an impact. Where do we see a way to make a systemic change, a community change, and so when it comes to the growth and a lot of these things are kind of, they present themselves pretty clearly to us, but what we're trying to do is not just kind of grasp at things and then be able to do something for a week and feel good and then it kind of falls apart. We're looking to see where those trends are and where we kind of put ourselves in and where do we get the other support from our fellow community organizations. Where are they doing some of this work? We're not here to keep recreating these wheels in our little spaces. We're here to continue to understand each other and the work that we're doing and how it's growing and how we can work off of that. And so I think that's kind of how we're doing it anyway, is that it's very organic, but it has a lot to do with collaboration and just sort of being awake and aware of these changes that they happen. Yeah.
Any other takers?
I can talk a little bit about addressing increased demand, especially for a small nonprofit like us. When I talk a little bit about homelessness, for one, there's actually 0 homeless services here on the East End. So if anybody does find themselves remotely homeless, the closest they're going to get, if they're lucky, is Riverhead. If not, they're going to be in Coram, Mastic, Amityville. So there's 0 out here. And for us, the populations that we serve, we typically serve about a third Hispanic, about a third African-American, about a third white. Many of the Hispanic people are ineligible for services. So right off the bat, there's a group of people that even if you wanted to get them connected to other services, you can't. When the pandemic first hit with us, we noticed everything was either closing down or in quarantine or scaling back beds. We found ourselves literally not just on the East End, but in many parts of Suffolk County, the only available shelter. So it's a bit of a cliche when you say homeless people have nowhere to go. Well, sometimes they do. You could send them to a hospital or a DSS. For the last 2 years or so, especially that first and second year, they really had nowhere to go. So we were basically forced to take on that increased demand. One of the ways that we did it was, keeping, volunteers and supporters energized. Even though they may not have been actually at our physical sites serving the meals, they were still cooking the meals. They were still providing so much more in the background that gave us the immediate opportunity to find an amazing staff of people. So between the amazing staff of people and the amazing volunteers, we were really able to kind of go through the pandemic, fairly seamlessly. And again, I have to go back to having amazing people. I think that's not really just an understatement. I mean, some of you folks have worked with some of my staff in the shelter program, and they go above and beyond all the time. So I think that's part of it. The other thing too, for a small agency, when we look at, how do we offset that, oftentimes you actually need to create additional funds or create additional programs. You have to demonstrate the need. So I can't say, give me more money because I'm predicting something, but it is easy for me to turn around and say, well, last year we did 30, 35 beds a night. Now we're doing 50, 55. I need your help. So it kind of had that almost that backlash effect, but a lot of it does have to do in my case, partnering with the right people, the right agencies, having amazing people and stakeholders that are actually going to share your mission and help out.
That's an interesting question, because I think that, when we talk about growth in the area where growth is needed, I don't know if you really can answer that question, because I think that from my perspective, I look at what's not here, or what are we not doing? Because I think that I'm going back, there's a scripture in the Bible where it talks about we're all one church, and there's like branches from the church and that sort of thing. And so what I'm trying to say is that everybody has their purpose and their thing of what they're doing. For example, we have the work that you're doing as far as on the Shinnecock Reservation, as far as with the animals, and that's important. You have the work that you're doing at the Southampton Daycare Center with the children and childcare. That's important. The work, Minerva, that you're doing with the illegal immigration, that's important. The food insecurity that Heart of the Hamptons is doing, that's important. Springs, what you guys are doing, that's important. So for me, when I look at areas like what you just talked about, homelessness, there is nothing out here. So what can I do to help to create that? And so we opened up, our place, to do that. When we talk about pushing forward legislature and build, and advocating, the Thinking Forward lecture series. So for me, I try to fit in where I see that there is a need and there's some type of obsolescence, that it's not really happening. And then I'll piggyback and I'll fall back on what already is there, like Minerva with the immigration. So if I have somebody, I'm gonna go to Minerva and see. And then if Minerva says, well, I got too much of a load, I can't take it, and we see that's a need, then I'm gonna try to create something that will offset. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but all those areas need to, we all need to focus in and see what's not here and how we can all work together and make it happen. That's kind of my answer.
Great answer. What? Go ahead, Ada.
No, I don't want it. Yeah.
My, I don't know, my question, my concern, and I've heard it in some of what people were talking about, by the people that received the grants. In terms of getting jobs and, the changing the legislation and so forth. But like, I would like to see, how could we, as a, community, East End community perhaps, address solve the underlying problems. Kind of sort of address the things that are leading to people. I know one thing is immigration, and then that's a world issue because people are so poor in other countries and they're coming, and I know, the jobs, they're low paid, but how can we kind of transform that a little bit? So that the foundation that people are standing on is more secure and people do have enough. Like that's what I'd like to, and I really looked to see, is there one group? I don't know, maybe that's something that could be somehow networked to really, that's what I'm trying to say. What do you see as the way to, what changes need to be made? How could those changes be made? Thank you.
That's a great point. And I've been a real estate agent for 21 years. And I think that allows me to see a side that is not pretty. It's, ridiculous wealth. It's people that come here for limited amounts of time, but they don't invest back in the environment. And I feel so comfortable here talking about this because when you go outside this room, people don't understand that, where we live is not what's portrayed on TV, in the movies, and it's a real detriment to us. And I do a lot of educating when people will take the time to listen to me. But I think one of the things is the people who come here for the limited amounts of time need to be educated. They need to give back. And I don't know how that's going to happen. I think we have a lot of very, very talented filmmakers, and something needs to be made that points out really where we live and who makes up the fabric of this community, because we know it, but we're the minority that really care and want to do something about it. It's the hedges and the mansions and the helicopters and the airplanes and the cost of homes and the rents, and it's astronomical. And I don't see it changing until the public really understands, and not this public, but that's what I would say.
Maybe we have to go into I don't know how you say, a strike. Everybody, yeah, all the community, local people. Oh, pero ellos something, we can do that, and agree with you.
I would say, people always come to me and say, how can we solve homelessness? And we've talked a lot about housing. And I think housing, sure, without a doubt, that's a pretty obvious answer. But I think for, a lot of the populations that we serve, it's not just those housing or those immediate services. It's one, like you were saying before, we spend a lot of time, I know I spend a lot of time filling in the gaps. I work with all these great agencies and county organizations and the people here, but I can't do this, I can't do this. And everybody comes to me and says, well, can you help us with this? Or we're forever filling in the gaps for need. And that's where we, find opportunities for growth. But, I also look and say, well, housing is only one component of it. So I know from my population, we kind of say we work with homeless, but I say we work with people that are facing homelessness as those who are recently housed. And the people who get recently housed, you would be amazed how many of them struggle. And what ends up happening is, from a societal level, as well as a legislative and a service provider level, we're not always providing robust wraparound services. We don't have a lot of social safety nets. I can go on and on and on how rigged the system is to keep people down. And without getting into that kind of thing, but if you actually have to go use Department of Social Services, you actually have a job, they're going to want 80-90% of your salary back. How do you get out of homelessness or any of the situation, out of poverty, when all my money is going back to the county and they're not giving you any kind of robust safety nets? But I think part of the thing is also looking at other models. So the two examples I'll say quickly is when we did the child tax credits during the pandemic, we did that for a year and a half. As we all know, probably found on the papers, childhood poverty plummeted to record levels, within 6 months or 6 weeks after they, removed that policy, it was no longer COVID relief. Those numbers went right back up. And it didn't impact anybody. It wasn't a big cost, but it solved a major problem. And then when you look at something like homelessness and robust support services, if you look at places in Europe, a lot of times they will provide more than just a place to live and a social worker once a week. They're giving them robust services, as well as like maybe better treatment programs for substance abuse, clean needle exchange programs and all this stuff, because one, they're not now in the hospital, not burdening the other systems, and you're giving them an avenue to hopefully find their way out without stigmatizing them. But I think a lot of it has to do with wraparound services and actually, building a better support safety net for those really in need.
I would just also like to say that I think one of the most important ways to change things is to vote and to let other people know what the issues are and who responds to those issues and who don't, because how many people don't vote out here or just say, oh, I don't have time for that. Like, unless you hold politicians' feet to the fire, like nothing changes.
This doesn't have to be nothing with you talking about, but 2 years ago, there was a guy, he came to the pantry and he said, I want to do community service. And I don't know how many hours the guy from Brazil, Maribel. And he did like 100 hours. And my sister and I, we treat him so nice every day, giving coffee to him, sweet things, whatever he wants to. He never talked about him, what he was doing. And he said, one day I'm going to treat you girls very good. You know what he did? He gave us $10,000 for Heart of the Hamptons. Isn't that amazing?
$10,000.
$10,000.
He was a banker. He was a banker, and we didn't know that.
We didn't know that because he didn't want to show off that he had money and anything.
Yeah,
But
let's
he
donate $10,000.
donated because he said, I'm going to treat you girls very good. Isn't that amazing?
Just briefly, thank you. That's wonderful. There's so many things going on in my head right now, and so many things. I think that to Ava's question, I think because we've got this community that I think is, can be misrepresented in all kinds of different ways, misrepresented, that the deeper look that we have, whether it's through voting or understanding how our systems work out here, that some of them can be really great. We've got these siloed systems. It could be a beautiful thing if you could really get your arms around each school district and each community. But I think understanding what we have in place. So the work that Ola is doing with systems is not to get more than what someone should have as a human being, but just make sure these same things that exist, whether it's how you're supporting victims of domestic violence, or what you're doing with food needs, what you're doing with housing, mental health. I mean, that's an example that I do want to say in terms of growth, is that when we were seeing and doing research on this higher need, wasn't because of the pandemic, but before that, learning what the experiences were in middle and high school, what we realized was the work that we were going to do could not be limited to Latino members of the community. So that was something that we grew as a response to that. So the children, middle school and high school, that are getting these, making these texts to us for support, and we're going to the schools. This is for Black, Brown, Shinnecock, white people that have their own therapists, private therapists, that don't feel comfortable. They don't feel safe. They don't feel safe going to the schools. They don't want anyone to know what their situation is. So this is an example of sort of broadening out and kind of understanding that within this community that is growing, that does have 50% and it's low average Latino student body, that these are also students that are valedictorians. These are students that are leading the way. These are students that are coming back, and it's not always a brain drain, which it can be out here in the East End of Long Island. There's the cultural familial thing that allows sometimes that family member or that student to be here a bit longer. And also to, the levels of contribution that are happening as a result of that are huge. So I do want to put a pin on that one as well. The work we do with immigration is not illegal immigration. We're working with families that have a path, and they don't have a way to that pathway because either they're being exploited. We have tremendous levels of exploitation because of language barriers, because of fears around that. So as a result of these types of things, we're having these crises that are created by these gaps, but they're not accidental gaps. People are being exploited and lots of money are being made off of their backs. Their money's being made off of their children's backs. And so we need to look deeply at what forms this community out here and understand that it is, if we look at that and we want to fix those things, and it's by voting, but it's also by taking a level of responsibility, and we're going to see that. And I think the youth are the thing that give me, which I'm sure anyone that works with youth gives me that hope, that look at where are we going from here. And I see the students that we work with across our districts, and it is the main thing that gives me any hope about how we're going to grow this and how we're going to do it right. But we need to do right by them as well.
Bonnie, I think you get the last word, Bonnie, then we're gonna vote.
Okay. I think that basically we got to work on, because you talked about the foundation and what is the one thing that we can do. I think it's not just, if it was that easy, we would be doing it, but you have to change the mindset. You have to work on changing the mindset of people And that's basically making them to understand, and how you do that is through the education and the awareness that all of us continue to do every day, but changing that mindset. If that could change across the gamut, then I think that things would be a lot easier. So working on, that's what I would say, focusing in on changing the mindset. So that's what I would say. I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you so much for spending your time with us and sharing what you do. You know, every year it's been amazing, absolutely amazing. Everybody with so much passion in what you do, and you come across all so well. Even if you're nervous beyond belief, you make an impact. You know, everybody in the room is very, very appreciative. So I think we're gonna pose for a couple of photos for us, and then everybody can go about and enjoy some sunset.